Previously, I have ranked all melee and range weapons in RimWorld, and today it is time to rank all positive and negative traits that your opponents can have. Now, keep in mind that some traits in RimWorld, as in real life, can be debatable. Is it positive? Is it negative? So it's my decision which one goes into which ranking. Today, we're going to be ranking all the positive ones, and in a couple of days, I'll release a video with all the negative ones. Now, some traits in RimWorld like Masochist and Psychopath and Cannibal don't really have much negative going on about them, but I'm putting them into the negative list because, well, in real life, they would be considered kind of negative, so that's my decision process over here if you wanted to know. But anyway, now let's begin with the positive ones. First, we're gonna begin with a Scattic. Now this bad boy gets a bit of a mood buff if they have an awful room, which can be useful very early on where your base is kind of bad, but usually, early on you do have the initial optimism still bonus, so you don't really need that mood buff, and later on it just ruins the look of your colony, so we're gonna put them into C tier. Next we have Asexual. That just means they will not have any romantic relationships. Really nothing positive or negative about this trait, it's just meh. Goes into C tier. Next, we go to Beautiful. This means they get extra beauty, which means all of the pawns are gonna like them a lot more. Now, you would think that is a good thing, that all the other pawns are gonna like them, but it's not necessarily that good because it's gonna cause a lot of heartbreak. People are gonna try to hit on the beautiful people, and they're gonna have to turn them down, and other people are gonna be unhappy because of that, so at best Beautiful can be B. Next we have Bisexual. Now this doesn't, once again, as Asexual, doesn't really have anything too bad or too good going for it. The bad part could be because this will want to sleep with both male and females, right? But some ideologies could conflict with that, and then people wouldn't be able to sleep in the same bed and would be slightly unhappy. So really nothing good or amazing about this trait, it's C. Next we have Body Mother. This used to be transhumanist. Basically, if they don't have any artificial body parts, they get a slight mood debuff. But let's be real, this is RimWorld. Pretty much everybody's gonna start missing parts pretty damn soon, and if not, you'd want to give it to them so they'll be better with some bionic legs and eyes and such. So really a great thing to have just for the positive mood buffs that you'll be getting out of that for this colonist, and he's always going to be happy with new parts. On the other spectrum, we have the Body Purist. Now, this one is awful because, once again, you'll want to give people artificial body parts because they're probably going to be losing a leg or something like that, and for each part, they're going to go -10 mood, up to -35, which can be really, really bad if, you're always missing limbs or noses or whatever. Body Purists suck. We're gonna put them into F tier. Then we go for Brawler. Brawlers are decent if you want to have a Brawler, but usually you don't want to have too many in your colony. They get +4 for melee, they get -4 for range, and the worst thing comes if you really, want to give range to your people. They'll have -20 mood debuff, and they're gonna be very unhappy with that. So Brawler at best can be like a B tier trait, I think. Next we have Careful Shooter. This bad boy gets extra aiming accuracy, but it takes 25% longer to aim their weapon, which can be pretty annoying. These are pretty decent for like really high damage weapons that you really want to hit with, like a lone sniper type people. You have something that does a lot of damage and you really want it to hit because it takes a while to hit. Then you put that on a Careful Shooter. But otherwise, I don't think this trait is too amazing. I used to like it a lot more in the past, but now I don't think it's more than a B tier trait. Next we have Fast Learner. This is a no-brainer. You get experience for your skills much faster, even though there's a daily cap for how much you can get. Still, Fast Learner is amazing. You level up faster in all of your skills, and you can be more useful to the colony. So I think this is an easy S tier trait. Next we have Fast Walker. That just means that you walk 0.2 cells per second faster than anybody else. and you know, might allow you to escape some raiders or animals that you otherwise might not, but still I don't think it's too good of a trait. It's decent for haulers, and you know, their Jogger exists, which is just better, so we're gonna put this one out here into B tier. Next we go to gay, same as asexual or bisexual. This one doesn't really affect the game too much. The negative could be that some ideologies could, you know, affect that, and people wouldn't be able to get married because they would like to sleep together. You won't be able to assign them into the same bed. Again, ideology, but I'm sure you can fix that with some mods. We're gonna put it into C tier. Next we have Gourmand. This one conflicts with Scattic, you know, which is reasonable. These guys love eating food, and they will eat a lot more, which can be definitely seen as a negative, but they do have a bit of a cooking skill, and you know, when they break, there's a good chance they go on food binges, which, let's be real, is one of the easiest mental break risks to deal with, because they're just gonna eat some stuff. So this one is really not terrible, but it's, you know, nothing special. We're gonna put it out here into B tier. Next we have great memory. This just means your skill loss rate is halved. If you didn't know, you know, at higher skills you'll be forgetting what you know about those if you don't do them. So let's say you're very good at shooting, but if you go like a month without shooting, you'll be losing a level or so, maybe, because you'll just be forgetting about it, and you know, you're not practicing. So great memory just slows that down. It is a pretty decent trait. It's not too amazing. It doesn't affect as much as you would think. I'll put it into high B, I'd say. Next we go with hard worker. This is a great trait. It makes you work 20% faster with all the stuff you do. It's really amazing to have. It does have a slight opinion malice for other people without that trait, you know, if they don't work as much, but I think it's still a very high A tier trait, and it's only A tier because Industrious exists, which is even better, which is 35% increased work speed, which is, let's say, just absolutely amazing, because you're just gonna make everything faster. So if you have some projects that, you know, would otherwise take a long time, hey, Industrious people gonna make it better. We're gonna put that into S tier. Next we have Iron Willed. I believe this one lowers your mental break threshold by like almost 20%, which is really huge, because your people are not gonna break not nearly as much as they otherwise would when things get rough. So really very useful trait to have in your people. They won't break as much. Well played, we'll put it into S tier. Then we have Jogger, as mentioned before. This is an upgrade on Fast Walker. It basically doubles the speed gain that Fast Walker gets. It's amazing for your people who want to do some hauling, and it's pretty good if you want to kite some raiders and, you know, get them into a position where you want them. So put Jogger into A tier, I think. Next we go with Kind. Surprisingly, people in RimWorld are dicks, and they really judge and hate people who are ugly or disfigured. But Kind does not do that. Also, Kind has kind words for their people, and it can increase their mood for a bit with those kind words, which is really nice. Apparently, it's also easier to convert to your ideology, so I mean, that's a bonus for it as well. But in the end, it's nothing that amazing. We'll put it into B tier. Then we go to Night Owl. I do like Night Owls for, let's say, my researchers, my janitors, my cooks. You know, they work during the night and everything is clean and the meals are prepped. So when majority of people wake up in the morning, it's all nice, clean. They can have fresh meals. It's great. They get mood buff if they work through the night, and they get a debuff if they work through the day. So there you go. Night Owl, nothing too special. It's a decent trait. If you have it, you can use it in that way. But if you don't have it, you're not really going to miss it, because you can still put people on night duty without this trait. Anyway, we'll put it into B tier. Next we go with Nimble. This just gives you plus 15 dodge chance in melee, so it's great for people with swords. It's great for brawlers. They can go in there and, you know, they can stand their ground for a bit longer. Unfortunate, if everybody comes and shoots at you, that's not really gonna help, but in melee it can be pretty decent. I like Nimble on my like main melee character that I usually have like 1 or 2. We'll put this into A tier. Next we go to Nudist. Nudists suck. If they're naked, they get plus 20 mood buff. But for all the clothing, but I think like hats, they get -3 for each piece. So if you want to actually have your nudists protected with some armor, or maybe have them wear a freaking parka in the middle of the winter, they're gonna be unhappy and they're gonna complain about it. You know what? Nudists, you suck. F tier for these silly bitties. Next we have Optimists. Optimists are pretty cool. This is a slightly worse version of Sanguine that we're gonna get to. They get permanent +6 mood buff, which is, you know, it's a pretty decent thing. You know, they always have that slight bonus to their mood if something goes bad. I think this is a decent A tier trait. It's nothing too amazing, but you know, it gives you that slight buff. Then we have Pretty. Pretty is just a slight downgrade on Beautiful. They get +1 colonist beauty or something like that. People will like them, not as much as the Beautiful ones, but you know, they will like them as well. Same as with Beautiful, it might cause some heartbreaks. So it's just a bit worse version of Beautiful. We'll put it right next to it into B tier. Then we have psychically deaf people. They don't get affected by the psychic drones. Sure, even the happy ones, but the bad ones are really terrible because, let's be real, after you play for a year or two in, every drone is going to be high, and if you have a psychically deaf person, they'll just work with ease. Nothing's gonna bother them. They're gonna work normal. I really like this trait. This might be more of a personal pick, but for me, psychically deaf people are really good. We'll put them into S tier. Next, we have the psychically dull people. This is not as powerful as psychically deaf. It's half as powerful, I believe, but still, you know, they'll get way less affected as normal colonists, or, you know, God forbid, those hypersensitive guys. We'll put this one into A tier over here. Then we have Quick Sleeper. These guys get their rest bar full in 50% faster. So, you know, they only need to sleep like 2/3 of normal sleeping time for people. It can be pretty decent, you know, for colonists that you want them working there all day long, maybe for research or something like that. It's nothing too amazing in my opinion though. We can put it somewhere like in the middle of B tier over here. It's an okay trait. I mentioned Sanguine before. It's an upgrade on Optimist. It's permanent +12 mood buff, which is actually pretty decent. You know, +12, that is a sizable amount of bonus points over there. So I think Sanguine does deserve to be up here in the S tier. Then we have Steadfast. This is the worst version of RimWorld. RimWorld, you know, increases or lowers your mental break threshold by almost 20%. This one is like 10%-ish, I think. So not nearly as good, but still a pretty decent one over here. So we're gonna put it up here into the A tier if you want. If you have people with this, you know, they'll be strong mentally for longer than anybody else. Next we have Super Immune. I really like this trait. Why? Because very early in colonists, when you have your colony does not have a good hospital, it doesn't have a good doctor yet, doesn't have good medicine, and you get diseases in, well, people gonna have a problem. But with Super Immune, you get the +30% immunity gain. So, you know, no matter what kind of malaria or plague or infection you're gonna have to be dealing with, you can be almost sure that your person is gonna survive this. And of course, he's gonna get out of it faster, so he can get back to work faster or back to shooting bad guys faster. It's great. I really like Super Immune, and I think it's definitely up here in the S tier amongst other these ones. Then we go to Teetotaler. These guys don't do drugs, they don't do alcohol, which, you know what? I respect that. But in RimWorld, life is tough. So if you can't get the mood buff from the drugs and alcohol, you might have a problem and you might break a lot. For which, you know, I do kind of prefer people who want to use drugs. Also, anybody with like chemical interest is not going to be a fan of teetotalers. I guess because they tell them they haven't drank a beer for 10 years and they tell them that every day. You know what? More power to you, but in RimWorld, that's only like a C tier trait, I'm sorry. Trigger Happy is the opposite of Careful Shooter. Their accuracy is worse, but their aiming time is 50% faster than of those normal people. It's great for those spray and pray weapons, so you can just go ta 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 ta, you know, and just shoot faster. So trigger happy is actually pretty decent. We'll put it up here in the B tier. And I used to really not like this one, but nowadays, I think it's even better than Careful Shooter. You might want to have 1 or 2 Careful Shooters, but you are okay with multiple trigger happy people. Next, we go with Too Smart. Too Smart is a worse version of Fast Learner. While Fast Learner just learns faster, this one does the same thing, but it has negative thing attached to it, because they will break much more often. You know, their mental break threshold is higher, so they can reach it much faster, and they go on breaks. Really unfortunate for these Too Smart people. I don't think it's a terrible trait. I think it's pretty decent, as long as you can keep your people happy. We're gonna put it up here into B. Next, we have Tough. You take 50% less damage. What is there not to love? For your people, especially those that are gonna be on the front lines, this is a really decent trait. You know, you combine Tough with Nimble and maybe Brawler, and you have a perfect dude that's in the melee. Or, you know, you go Tough, Nimble, Jogger, so he can chase down enemies or, you know, run away from them if necessary. I think Tough is really great. Like, your bones don't break as easily. What is there not to love? We're gonna put it up here into S tier. Last but not the least, we have the Undergrounder. I actually really like these Undergrounders because they are very good miners. They don't mind being underground in darkness. If actually they like it. They also don't get cabin fever, so they can just be inside and research, for instance. So this is a very decent trait. You're not gonna see it that often, but you know, if you can get it, you can definitely put those people to good use. We're gonna put it into A tier. And there we go, there's our ranking. These are positive traits, so clearly we can see that. Lots of S, A, and B tiers, and less C and F. I'm gonna be ranking the negative traits soon, so that's where we can expect more C and F traits and, you know, lesser S and A's. But I hope you like this video. Let me know how much you disagree with me with my S tier and my F tier picks, and what would you change over here. And I'll see you in a couple of days with negative traits.